So we've all been there, right? Sitting in a history class. But have you ever really stopped to ask yourself, what's the actual point of all this? Well, that's the big question we're digging into today.
No, seriously, it's a totally fair question, isn't it? Why should we spend our time thinking about people and events that are long gone? Let's be honest, you've probably had this exact thought pop into your head at some point.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle that big question. Why even bother with the past? Then, we'll take a little journey through time, see how it all connects to right now, meet the detectives who piece it all together, and finally, wrap up by seeing how history is really our story.
Okay, let's just dive right in and face that feeling head on. You know the one, the idea that the past is just over, done. It has nothing to do with our crazy, busy modern lives.
But here's the thing. We get so used to our world, with our phones and our Wi-Fi and everything, we just kind of assume it's always been like this. But it hasn't, not even close. What we think of as normal is actually a pretty recent development in the grand scheme of things.
So, what if we just flip that whole idea on its head? Let's stop thinking about history as some dusty old book full of dates. Instead, what if we thought of it as the most amazing time machine ever built? And that is the key. History isn't just a list of facts. It's an adventure. It literally transports you to another world, another age, where people saw everything differently. What they ate, what they believed, how they lived, everything. Just look at this. Think of an ancient artifact like this as a window into a totally different reality. It's our one chance to try and imagine the people. And let's get real for a second. Can you actually seriously imagine a world with no fire? Or a time before anyone even knew you could plant a seed and grow your own food? What about a world where people traveled but there were no roads, no railways, nothing? See, history lets us step into these worlds that feel almost alien to us now. Okay, so we've been time traveling, right? But here's the kicker. Here's where it all comes together. That different world we just visited, it's not separate from us at all. It's the literal foundation of everything we have today.
This is the part you really gotta get. Every single thing in our modern lives, from the language we speak to the technology we use, it's all a direct result of the choices, the struggles, and the breakthroughs of people who lived long, long ago. They literally built the world we're standing on. And what history shows us is that these massive changes, like having fire or knowing how to farm, they didn't just happen overnight. It was this slow, gradual process, almost invisible to the people living through it. It's only when we step back, when we look at the whole timeline, that we can see how these tiny, incremental shifts over centuries, well, they added up to create the world we now just take for granted.
Okay, so it's all well and good to say the past is important, right? But that begs a pretty big question. How in the world do we actually know any of this stuff happened? Well, to figure that out, we need to meet a very special kind of investigator. Yeah, the absolute best way to think about a historian is as a detective. I mean, they can't exactly interview witnesses who've been gone for thousands of years. So instead, they have to become master sleuths, hunting for clues and signs left behind. And just like any good detective, they use all kinds of evidence. You've got your written records, right? Things like old documents or inscriptions carved into stone. But then you have the physical objects themselves, the stuff that tells a story without using a single word. Each one is a piece of the puzzle. And believe me, their toolkit is huge. Absolutely anything left behind can be a clue. We're talking stone tools, old plant remains, bones, coins, entire buildings, even just broken bits of pottery. Every single piece tells us something vital about how people lived their lives. So this leads us to our final, and maybe the most important question of all. If history is this giant story built from all these clues, whose story is it anyway? For the longest time, history was pretty much just about the big names. The kings, the queens, the famous generals. It was all about their battles, their laws, their palaces. But that's just a tiny slice of the pie. History is also the story of the hunters and the farmers, the people who actually figured out how to survive, how to feed everyone. And what about the artisans who made the tools and the art? Or the traders who connected different cultures and spread new ideas? Their stories matter too. And that's really what it all boils down to. Real history. It's about the lives of everybody, the ordinary women, men, and children who, just by living their lives, built the world we inherited. So in the end, history isn't some story about them, some other people from a long time ago. It's a story about us. It's our shared story, our collective human journey. It's the one thing that connects every single one of us, no matter where we're from.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. Everything we're doing right now, the phones we're holding, the things we're posting online, the stuff we buy, all of it. These are the clues we're leaving behind for future historians. So, what story are our clues going to tell them about us?